Last time on our journey we travelled to Gridania, we headed into the Tamtara Deepcroft and cleansed the burial croft of a cult known as the Lambs of Dalamut, who were trying to summon in a void fiend. We witnessed the harsh reality of being an adventurer, as we saw a group lose one of their members and crumble apart, before we could head out on another adventure. This time, we departed on an airship to Ul'dah, the jewel of Thanalan, a city of wealth, power, and one hell of a dark history, which I do detail in my video where we explore the origin of Ul'dah. The city's dark history, though, is not our concern right now, as we head down to the Quicksand, the local adventuring guild and inn. There we speak to Mamodi, who handles all new adventurers in the area and fields the requests coming through the Adventurers Guild. It turns out Mother Mion sent a word ahead of us, so Momoti is pleased to see us, and quickly introduces us to Papa Shan, the man who sent the request we are to deal with. This Ul'dah Lalafell is a former Sultan's Warren, one of the Sultanate's highest ranking guard. They are paladins of great respect and talent, and though Papa Shan has set his sword and shield aside in his later years, he still serves his city nonetheless, even if it's in a different way. And while the request comes through him, it is originally related to a company named Amaljan & Sons Mineral Concerns, one of the larger and most powerful mining companies in the area. And they are having an issue with a particular mine, known as the Copperbell mines. Well, not the mine itself, but the murderous giants within the mine. We are, of course, confused and ask him to explain the murderous giant part, because this doesn't really make sense to us. Why are the giants in the mine? Did the company put them in there? Did they live in the mine before the company came? Why are they murdering everyone? There are so many questions. And thankfully Papa Shan is willing to fill us in. These giants are a clan known as the Hekatonchers, which is a terribly difficult name for me to pronounce. Apparently they were sealed during the mine, sometimes during the time of the Thorn dynasty, and at the time they were used as slaves within the mines. They were controlled through enchanted helmets that bound them to the master's will. But when the enchantments failed and the giant slaves turned against their masters, this event was named the Great Giant Revolt, and it was ended by blowing up part of the mine, causing a collapse of the lowermost levels where the giants were sealed in, under 1,000 tons of rock. And since then, well over 300 years have passed. The Thorn dynasty passed the rule back to the Ul'dah dynasty, and well, nobody really thought much about the giants stuck in the mine. The Copperbell mines were put out of service till just recently. And with the great rebuilding of Ul'dah after the calamity, more building material was needed. So the Copperbell mines were opened up again. But it seems the miners dug a bit too deep and ended up finding some angry giants. Now we don't know how long giants live, but 300 years is one hell of a long time to fester a grudge. So no wonder they're pissed off. So at least the task we get is simple in theory. We have to go into the mine and clear out the very angry giants. Easy. We are given direction to the mine, and then Papa Shan directs us to speak first with Painted Mesa, a Rogadin at Quicksand who knows the mine as well. We quickly find the Rogadin and are kinda relieved that, different from the Rogadin around Lim Solominsa who have borderline unpronounceable names, the Rogadins around these parts just have weird names, but at least you can say them. Painted Mesa is happy to see us, as he is one of the miners and is eager to get back to work. He really hopes we are fit for the task, because this will be no small feat to deal with. He does tell us that the mining company and the miners did know about the giants before they started mining. Well, they knew of the stories at least. But they were reasonable people and kind of figured that over the course of 3 centuries, the giants would be dead by now. Well, that was a mistake. They were very much not dead and very angry. We thank him for the information and head out to the mine. This time we travel by night, as the temperature around Thanalan can be a bit much during the day for those not used to it. And honestly, it's a lovely walk under the starry sky as we head to the mine. And like in our other jobs, we do find other adventurers there, though this time only one other group. It is Isildur and Alian, the grandfather and granddaughter pair, which we have met at each stage of our journey. We greet them happily and learn that they are actually coming out of the mine. They could not finish the task and wisely decided to back out, rather than to lose their lives to it. Being able to assess one's own ability is a big part of why Ul'dah has been able to adventure for so many years. But not all adventuring groups fare so well. We learned from Elian that during the trip into the mine, they found Dolor's Bear and his party dead. We remember them, the enthusiastic party of Arogidin, Mikote and Alalafell. They wanted to have songs written about them, and we last met them outside the Tamtara Deepcroft. But now we face another reminder that our chosen field is really cruel, as yet another party of adventurers are lost. With heavy heart after the news, we do gather up our own party and head into the mine. It's not an easy trip, as we must go deeper and deeper within the mines to find each and every giant to kill them. We end up deep down in a cavern system below the mine where the giants lived for the past 300 years. And there we face the leader, and it's almost sad. This creature is starved looking, with ribs poking out, and mad hatred in his eyes. But we do what we were sent to do. We take down the giant, make our way out of the mine, and as we come outside, the sun has risen, and even in the early morning, the temperature is quickly rising, so we make our way back to the city. We find Painted Mesa back at the quicksand, where we inform him about the finished job. He is thrilled to hear the mine can be opened again, but just as we're about to turn to do so, we hear a scream. We rush outside towards the sound, where we find the refugee woman on the ground, facing an obnoxious merchant. The man is accusing her of theft, of stealing a fine cut of dodo meat. And while he does that, the woman swears she did not steal a thing, that she paid for the meat. She just wants to give her children a good meal. She would never steal. But the merchant ignores her. Instead, he demands that either she hands back the meat, or he will turn her over to the guards. And then he claims to be a reasonable man, and offers a third option, where, if she serves him in whatever capacity he chooses, he will not report her. Ew, that's one slimy person. The woman begs the people around her for help, but they just stand and stare. And we have enough of this nonsense. We step up, facing the merchant and his cronies in defense of the woman. The merchant orders his thugs, therefore, to beat us up. We quickly take them down. After all, these men are nothing after dealing with the literal giants with a 300-year-old grudge. And as we throw them all down, they quickly turn away and run, as the woman thanks us. But as she does, there is this blinding pain in our head, a sensation that is awfully familiar to us. We've had it twice, both times in our starting city. First when we got our crystal from Hydaelyn, and then when we got a vision of the barrel at Cardanu. This time our vision shows us a moment in time outside the city. We watch two merchants talk about the refugee problem, but more notably than that, behind them, we can see the woman buying the dodo meat from a merchant. And as the vision fades and the pain subsides, we blink our eyes, realizing we are back where we stood, and the damn obnoxious merchant is asking if we plan to threaten him next. We tell the idiot that we saw the woman buy the meat, and our determined claim causes another witness from the crowd to call out the same. The merchant looks around angrily, but he has no leg to stand on right now, so he storms away angrily, while we bid goodbye to the woman, who thanks us before heading off. Again, we plan to head inside the Adventuring Guild to talk to Momodi, but before we can do that, we are stopped. This time, by a familiar pair. Well, at least if you start in Gridania like I did. In fact, depending on your starting city, you will meet different people here. As a Gridanian start, we meet Papa Limo and Ul'dah, a pair of researchers we came across in the Gridanian forest. If you started in Limsolominsa, you will meet Yistola, and if you hail from Ul'dah, you will meet Thancred. These meetings corresponding with who you met during your starting questline. It turns out these people have been watching us ever since we left our starting city. They were watching and evaluating us, and it turns out they believe we have every quality needed to become a proper adventurer, as we are someone willing to help all, no matter if there's coin in it or not. And then there is the matter of our gift, the headache-induced visions of the past. They claim they can help us understand it. That in fact there are others like us out there. A friend of theirs who would love to meet us has the same ability. and they would happily help us with our adventuring if we would be willing to help their group with their own goals, which they will explain better when we come meet them, as it's not something they want to discuss out on the streets. So instead, we are instructed to go to speak to Mimodi and ask her about the science of the Seven Dawn. He will then tell us where we should go, and when we find their headquarters, that is when we can talk about this whole thing, and we will get all the answers we need. And then they leave us, very confused, before heading back into the quicksand, and speak to Mimodi at last. She is thankful for a job well done, and we do ask her about these Cyan people. She tells us she knows of the group, and that she's surprised they are actually starting to make their moves now. She warns us that these Cyans are no ordinary people with ordinary work. Some of the things they do would frighten even the strongest and bravest of adventurers. So she asks us to think about it, and if we are sure we wish to find them, she will tell us where to go. But first, there is a young woman looking for us. It's Ul'dah, the healer from the group we saw first outside of Sastasia, and then saw fall apart in Gridania. This will be the final time we meet Ul'dah through the main story. She wants to know our name and tells us that Avery, the tank of the group who died, had been engaged to her, and that he had admired us so much that he had seen that we were this great adventurers to be. Now she plans to head home and start the training anew, to become an adventurer like us. And at this moment she seems full of determination. And as we wave a goodbye to her, we hope her journey will be good and happy. But I fear it won't. But one can always dream. And as he goes off to start on one of the darker stories of this game, we make a choice. We would very much like to learn more about the peculiar talent we have, and also if maybe there's a way to reduce the headaches. So we want to meet the Cyans of the Seven Dawn. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like the series. If you do, make sure to do all the good YouTube stuff. It helps with the algorithm. But for now, I hope you have a lovely day.